Key weapons used by the Spartans at Thermopylae. Research indicates the primary weapons were thrusting spears and short swords, with possible alternatives like curved blades in some contexts. Evidence leans toward iron blades for swords and spearheads by the 5th century BC, though bronze elements like spear butt spikes were common. No clear records of bows or ranged weapons among the Spartans here, as they focused on close-quarters phalanx combat, though javelins were sometimes used by hoplites in other battles. When primary arms broke, accounts suggest they resorted to improvised fighting, but this reflects desperation rather than standard equipment. Historical context. The Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC involved King Leonidas leading 300 Spartans, plus allies, against a massive Persian force. As hoplites, they relied on disciplined formation fighting in the narrow pass, emphasizing heavy armor and thrusting weapons over versatility. Ancient sources like Herodotus describe their gear as typical for Greek infantry of the era, with no unique Spartan innovations noted for this battle. Archaeology supports this, with finds like iron spearheads and arrowheads, mostly Persian, at the site. Primary weapons overview. The Spartans' arsenal was practical for phalanx warfare, a long spear for initial thrusts, followed by a sword if the spear broke or combat closed in. Variations like the kopis may have been present, though xiphos is more commonly cited. Daggers appear in some general descriptions of Greek soldiers, but aren't explicitly linked to Spartans at Thermopylae. The Battle of Thermopylae, fought in 480 BC during the Second Persian invasion of Greece, remains one of the most iconic stands in military history. Led by King Leonidas I of Sparta, a contingent of approximately 300 Spartan hoplites, elite citizen soldiers trained from youth in the rigorous agoge system, along with around 700 Thespians and other allies, held the narrow pass against Xerxes I's vast Persian army for 3 days. This delay allowed the Greek city-states time to prepare defenses further south, ultimately contributing to Persian defeats at Salamis and Plataea. While the total Greek force initially numbered about 7,000, the final stand focused on the Spartans and their comrades after most allies were dismissed. The Spartans' weapons were standard for classical Greek hoplites, optimized for phalanx formations where soldiers locked shields and thrust forward in unison. Historical accounts, primarily from Herodotus in his Histories, Book 7, emphasize spears and swords, with no mention of specialized or exotic arms. Archaeological evidence from the site, including iron spearheads and bronze artifacts, corroborates this, though most finds are Persian arrowheads from the barrage that ended the battle. Spartan weaponry in the 5th century BC reflected the transition from Bronze Age to Iron Age technology. By Thermopylae, iron had largely replaced bronze for blades due to its superior hardness and edge retention, though bronze persisted for fittings, helmets, and greaves. Reddit discussions among historians note that while earlier Greek weapons were bronze, by 480 BC, Spartan spears and swords were iron-tipped or bladed, with bronze elements for balance or decoration. This shift is evident in museum artifacts, such as those from the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, displaying iron spear points and sword fragments potentially from the era. The Spartans did not use bows or slings, viewing ranged combat as less honorable and ineffective in their tight formations. Instead, they mocked Persian archery, with one Spartan reportedly quipping that the arrows would provide shade for battle. Javelins were occasionally part of hoplite kit for skirmishing, but no sources confirm their use at Thermopylae, where the narrow terrain favored static defense. Herodotus details the progression of combat. On the first 2 days, Spartans used spears to repel Persian assaults, feigning retreats to lure enemies into disarray before counterattacking. By the 3rd day, with Persians flanking via a mountain path revealed by the traitor Ephialtes, the Greeks advanced into open ground. Their spears shattered from repeated thrusts, forcing a switch to swords. When swords failed, they fought with hands and teeth in a final frenzy. This account underscores the limited arsenal but highlights Spartan resilience. Leonidas, as king, wielded the same equipment, embodying the egalitarian ethos where leaders fought alongside troops. No personalized weapons are described for him, though legend amplifies his heroism, such as his defiant come-and-take-them response to Persian demands for surrender. Debates exist on secondary weapons. The xiphos, a straight double-edged sword about 45 to 60 centimeters long, was the standard close combat tool, designed for stabbing through armor gaps like the throat or groin. Some sources suggest Spartans preferred a shorter version, dubbed Xiphidion, for maneuverability in packed ranks. The kopis, a curved single-edged blade, similar to a falcata but Greek, was an alternative for slashing, possibly used when xiphos were unavailable or for utility tasks. Replica sites and forums mention it alongside spears and daggers, but primary texts like Herodotus specify only spears and swords. XIP. Daggers are noted in Persian kits but rarely for Spartans. One blog suggests kopis battle daggers, but this may conflate with the shorter xiphos. The spear's bronze butt spike, Sorota served dual purposes, anchoring the weapon or as a backup if the head broke, potentially counting as an improvised weapon. Shields, aspis or hoplon, while defensive, could bash enemies, but they're not typically classified as weapons. Helmets, pylos or Corinthian, and greaves were armor, not offensive tools. Helots accompanying Spartans might have carried lighter arms, but details are sparse. Modern interpretations, like in Frank Miller's 300 graphic novel or the 2006 film, exaggerate with varied blades and tactics, but historical evidence sticks to basics. Uncertainties arise from limited artifacts. Only about 100 arrowheads and spearheads found, mostly Persian, and reliance on biased Greek sources glorifying the defenders. In summary, while spears and swords dominate accounts, the every possible scope includes variants like the kopis or sorota based on broader Greek practices. Uncertainties persist due to source biases and sparse artifacts, but the evidence paints a picture of disciplined, minimally equipped warriors whose effectiveness stemmed from training rather than armament variety. Alright boys, thank you for watching. I really appreciate your support. Don't forget to smash the like button, type us a comment down below, or just what you thought about the show, okay? You've been watching Everything Weapons, your go-to place for the best weapons and military talk. Also, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss a video I post in the future. And check out my other content on the channel. Tons of entertaining content. This is just what I radiate. Okay, appreciate it guys. Take care.